This is Cast of Wonders, the young adult fiction podcast featuring stories of the fantastic. Welcome. Episode 602. I'm Catherine Inskip, your editor and host. Our story for today is All Consuming by Taryn Rose Frazier, a Cast of Wonders original. Taryn Rose Frazier writes contemporary and speculative fiction and, when the mood strikes her, some poetry. Her short fiction has appeared in places like Apex Magazine, Podcastle and Mysterion. She has poetry published in Eye to the Telescope, Autumn Sky Poetry Daily and Lighten Up Online. She and her husband, 4 children and 2 cats live in the greater Philadelphia area. Read more at tarynfrazier.com. This story is narrated by Danny Cutler. Danny Cutler has been involved in podcasting, audio production and voice work since 2006. She is also the owner of a digital marketing and promotions business with focus on the music industry. We do have content warnings for this story, portrayal of eating disorders, cannibalism and body horror. And now we've a tale to tell.
All Consuming by Taryn Rose Frazier. Content warning, portrayal of an eating disorder. My sister walks in on me as I contort myself in bed, trying to take a bite of my inner thigh, the fleshy part that's rubbed against the other thigh ever since I got curves. I sit up so fast my head hits the underside of the upper bunk. Avery's eyes are wide. "Rowan, what are you doing?" she hisses. Avery gets angry when she's scared, because she hates being scared. "Nothing," I say. I tug my jeans up over the offending thighs and fumble with the zipper. Avery's only 2 years younger, but I've always felt motherly towards her. Mom always lies to me when she doesn't want me to worry. Dad and I are just having a loud discussion. Or, of course Grandpa is going to get better. Or, you'll be fine. So I do the same for Avery. Avery crosses her arms and waits. After 14 years of sharing a room, she knows me well enough to tell when I'm lying. She also knows me well enough to tell when I'm not going to talk, so when an awkward minute passes and I'm still picking lint off my comforter, she throws up her hands and leaves. That's where it starts. It starts with curiosity. How would it feel not to have my legs rub against each other, not to jiggle like Jell-O when I run? To have angles instead of parabolas in my geometry. It starts with one bite, taken with the sound of my sister's angry footsteps in my ears. Once, when I was 8, I smuggled a bag of gummy bears into bed, passing them up to Avery through the gap between wall and mattress. Secrecy gave those forbidden candies the sour, sweet flavor of guilt mixed with adrenaline. Now, when I peel a strip of flesh off my hip and consume it under the covers, I taste that secret excitement again. That first week, I only eat small pieces of myself. A little stomach roll, a mouthful of soft tricep, only what people won't notice. Peach fuzz skin, pillowy fat, pearly fascia. It comes off beautifully, clean and bloodless. I consume myself in the school bathroom, in the basement at home, in the changing room at the store. Then I make a big show of pushing food around my plate when I'm with people. I'm high on the discovery that I don't need to eat food like other people. I can just live off my body, a body I never really liked anyway. I almost tell Avery, but she's going through a weird phase. Avoids me at school, won't talk to me at home, always glaring at me. Whatever. I don't have the bandwidth for her issues. Each mouthful I take makes me hungrier, and soon I can't get enough. After a month, my clothes sag on my diminishing limbs, and I wear baggier things to compensate. I skip homecoming because my dress would show the exposed muscle of my newly thin arms. My mother, with the awkwardness born of love, cooks my favorite foods at dinner time, then tries not to look hurt when I leave them uneaten. My dad pretends nothing is wrong and talks too loudly and too cheerfully. Avery watches me across the table through narrowed eyes. I spend a lot of time in front of the mirror planning what I'll eat next. It becomes a game to see how much of myself I can eat, and the tremor in my hands and the spots in my vision tell me I'm winning. I've stripped most of my skin and fat away now, which means I'm cold a lot, so I wear layer upon layer of clothing. My slowed heartbeat makes running laps for PE hard, but at least I don't jiggle the way I used to. The other girls stare at me in the locker room, at the places where white bone flashes in my legs and at my sternum, but I don't care about any of that. There's something so architectural about naked bones. If I could just see every one of mine, maybe I'll finally feel like I've won. Still, Avery watches, frowning and silent. The jeans we used to share slip down my fleshless pelvis now, and the belt I stole from her last year doesn't have a notch tight enough to cinch them around my spine. We used to get along, used to wear matching dresses and tell each other our secrets. When she was 4, she'd climb up into the top bunk and kick her heels against the wall whenever a storm came through, and I was the one who figured out that all she wanted was for someone to slip a hand up between the gap between the bed and the wall and hold hers tight until the thunder stopped. We've been best friends and worst enemies, the way sisters close in age usually are, but we're nothing now. When I walk into a room, Avery walks out. I don't have the energy to think about why this is. I don't have the energy for anything these days. The highs I used to get feel flat, and I try to ignore the fact that there's not much of me left to eat, that I've picked my bones cleaner than the carcasses on the side of the interstate. My sluggish heart is visible through my exposed ribs. My nerves are raw and exposed. I'm trudging out of our bedroom one morning when Avery blocks my way. "Move, I'm going to be late," I say, stepping around her. She braces her hands on the door frame. "Tell me why you do it." "Do what?" I ask, not meeting her eyes. Avery waits, unmoving. I know what she means, and she knows I know. I try to shove her with one skeletal hand, but I don't have enough muscle left to make my bones do what I want them to do. "I don't know why," I snap. She shrugs. "Looks like you'll be late then." I try to roll my eyes, but I've eaten my delicate ocular muscles. "Fine," I say. I slump down on my bed and grope for the words. I'll never be enough, but at least I can be less. Avery's scowl deepens. That makes no sense. I rub my upper arms, and bone grates on bone. It's like, no matter how much I eat, I still don't like myself. So I keep going because at least there's less of me to dislike. Avery comes and sits on the bed next to me, but she doesn't look at me. "Are you happy?" she asks quietly, but her voice isn't a gentle kind of quiet. It's low and tight, like she's barely keeping a lid on her anger. I was expecting screaming, maybe accusations, definitely arguments. Her question disarms me, like we've been pulling on opposite ends of the rope and she's suddenly let go. I flop back on the bed and cover my face. "No," I whisper through my hands. These are supposed to be the best days of my life, but all I feel is scared. Of growing up, of never belonging, of failing. I just want to have control of something. Saying that aloud strips away the last shred of self-deception I've wrapped myself in. I'm crying and Avery's crying, but it's a good kind of crying, like rain after a storm. After we scrape the tears and snot off our faces, she curls up next to me and rests her warm cheek against my jawbone. "Rowan, do you want help?" "No," I almost say. I don't want to give up control. I don't want to live in my own skin. I'm so tired that dying sounds easier than living, and I close my eyes and drift. A pain in my hand drags me back. Avery is gripping my hand like it's a lifeline. Or am I the one hanging on to her? "Please stay," she says, not angry, just plain scared. "You're almost gone." So tired. "I'll try," I say. My therapist tells me pain is normal, that it hurts to regrow the parts of me I consumed. Sometimes I stand in front of the mirror and think about eating the new skin and muscle and fat covering my bones. I lie in bed and put my fleshed out forearm in my mouth, trying to remember what I taste like. My therapist tells me that's normal too. "Rowan," a voice says from the top bunk. A hand appears in the gap between the bed and the wall. "What are you doing?" I take Avery's hand. "I'm staying."
This is a tough story, and it doesn't pull any punches. The descriptions of a body being steadily picked clean give a very necessary sense of unreality to what Rowan is going through. We're in fantasy horror territory, not reality, while simultaneously making it more real. The true physiological nature of the eating disorder is removed, but the fantasy version shows the impact on heart, muscles, limbic system even more clearly. It's an almost artistic framing, but one which doesn't glamorise the illness in the slightest, and allows the author to explore Rowan's mental health challenges and her sibling bonds in a very powerful way. Should you need them, there are links to eating disorder support services available via the show notes. Join us again soon. We love bringing you the best audio fiction week after week, but we can't do it without your support. Your donations pay our authors, our narrators, our servers and our staff. Please consider supporting us with a monthly donation through either PayPal or Patreon. You can also review us on Apple Podcasts, request us on Spotify and consider the stories we publish for award consideration. There are lots of ways you can help. Join the discussion on EA Discord or on social media at castofwonders.org. Come say hello. Cast of Wonders is brought to you by editor Catherine Inskip, assistant editor Alicia Caparaso, associate editors Rebecca Arn, Tanya Adelit, Amy Brennan, Somtua Haseway, Cup Jacob, Becca Miles, Ray O, Samuel Poots, Pooja Prakabaran, Emma Smales, Denise Sudell and Rin Yi. Our editorial assistant is Amy Brennan, our community manager is Denise Sudell, and our audio producer is Jeremy Carter. Cast of Wonders is part of the Escape Artists Foundation, a 501c3 non-profit, and this episode is distributed under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. That means you can download or listen to the episode on any device you like, but you can't change it or sell it. Our theme music is Appeal to Heavens by Alexei Nov, available from Promo DJ or his Facebook page. Thank you for listening.